And you are tuned to the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen,
greetings to you.
Wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
The station for you is
OTR.
The station for you, OTR, that's the Old Tube Radio Network here in Central California, 27085. Channel 11 is our frequency of choice, and we are here every Saturday, starting at 8 p.m. Pacific time, to listen for, talk about, and search for those classic tube radios of the Class D 11-meter citizen band service from 1958, when the FCC banged the gavel and said, yes, there will be CB radio at 27 megahertz. And to about 1978, when the manufacturer said, what the heck? We'll just make them all transistors. But in that 20-year period, there were some great radios, and we will be finding those tonight as we listen for the Old Tube Radio, the Old Tube Radio Network listing.
93. 25.
All right, let's try this. Jerry, 25, head over into the green room, grab some lemonade and a bagel or something like that, something good. We'll be right with you. But first, stepping up to the microphonium is Louis, SWL 93, and he's going to tell us about his glow-in-the-dark radio. I think you've got something with tubes in it there, over.
Yes, sir, I do. It's the Johnson Messenger 223 with the big meter and the two knobs as the volume and the squelch, and then you got your channel selector and your mic with your big old speaker. There, go ahead. Messenger 273, I think, or 23.
Yeah, E.F. Johnson 223. I'm going to post a picture here, but I want to get the right one. There were two versions. One had a little red light above either the squelch or the volume control for modulation, and the other style did not. I'm wondering which one you've got there.
I got the one that does not have the modulation light. Mine does not.
Okay, let me post a picture. Those watching the video, if you're not familiar with an E.F. Johnson Messenger 223, which was out of the first three they did, the Messenger 2, the white face, the black face, and the 223, this was the big radio. This was basically a Messenger 2, and they added 23 channels and the S-meter, put it in a bigger case, and a great radio, as you can hear from something that was originally built 1969, 1970, 71, 72, sounding pretty doggone good in the 21st century at 2018. Give us another transmission, Louis, on the Johnson.
All righty. This is the Johnson, and let's just say it's just stock issue. But it's the black microphone. I'm not for sure if this came with this radio came with this microphone, but I don't know if it's the original one.
The microphones that you could buy with that radio, in theory, they were about $200 without the mic, although I didn't even know they sold them without the mic. Most of the ones I see have the desk mic. $215, it came with the desk mic. It looks like a standard Turner desk mic, like a Plus 2. But it's not amplified, and it will say, on the push-to-talk bar, it will say Johnson, Johnsson. So I'm thinking maybe you don't have that microphone, but whatever you've got sounds really good. It's got nice audio, over.
Good deal, good deal. Yeah, I think it's just a stock microphone. This one here is black. It almost looks like I want to say the Messenger 2 stock microphone that was with that one, but I'm not for sure.
Is it a desk mic or a mobile hand-style mic?
Hand-style mic.
Okay, then indeed you are probably correct. It may be one that came with the earlier Johnson models, because it had the push-to-talk sidebar on the side of the microphone. The earlier Messenger 1, some of them had that, I think it was an electro voice or a Shure microphone. We call it the ice cream cone mic where you talked into the end. But, boy, it sounds good. It sounds like the Element is in good shape. Sounds just like you, Louis. No problem at all. And I think if we had some skip running tonight, you would be able to contact them, no problem, with that radio. Before you go, have you had that radio a long time? Is that something that you originally bought, or did you just pick that up recently?
Oh, let's see. I've had it for, probably five or 10 years. Well, 5 years, I would say. And I got it tuned up, I would say, within the last 6 months.
Okay, it sounds good. The audio's good. It looks good on the S meter, and we are glad that you are in our DX zone and can key up and get it on the list. Radio number 1, starting us off, the Messenger. It's called the Johnson the Johnson Messenger 223. Let me get it right here. And they were produced from 1969 to about 1972. From the E.F. Johnson Company, there is more information. If you've got a Sam's Photo Fax, the book 23, information will be on page 53. But I guess the information we need to know is that it's working good, it sounds good, and it belongs to Louis. Give us another transmission, and we will see you next time, Louis.
All righty, then. We'll be saying our 73s, and we'll hand it over to you, and let's see what everybody else has got. We're back, Cliff.
All right, the Old Tube Radio Network here from Central California, starting us off at 8:43 with the E.F. Johnson. Let's go to Radio 2. Stepping up to the big microphone is Jerry, and I'm not sure what you've got. I didn't listen well enough to make an educated guess, and I don't think I heard it pinging, so I know it's not a Browning, unless, of course, it pings this time. Go ahead.
Dennis, you're right. It's not a Browning, and I'm surprised you didn't identify the radio, so I'll tell you all about it. It's the Holocrafters CB3A little phone on a non-powered D104, and this one has the extras, has the external meter, S meter on the front, and also the VFO on the left side of the channel selector. So maybe I should say frequency selector. In any case, we got on the air light, just a red light on the far left-hand lower side, and by golly, that's about, interestingly, one note on this radio, it's got great receive. Somebody added a bank of tubes on the side of it, and it's got excellent receive. I could hear just about everybody that checked in on the roll call. And also it has the 2-pin Browning connection, so I could actually put the banana mic on this thing, but anyway, I'll just leave the non-powered D104 on it. That's pretty much what I've been using on it. So, boy, that's about it, Dennis. Back to you.
Good enough, Helicrafters. I should have known. It throws me because it really has good audio. Not that it shouldn't, but a lot of the original issues on those came with the carbon microphone, and sometimes they have their own little sound, but that one has some good... it doesn't sound like a carbon microphone audio, even though it might. The CB3A from Helicrafters, they're a series of little phone radios, kind of numbered from 2, 3, 4, the 7. This is the 3A. 1963 is when this was produced, or it came out of the Helicrafters factory. And if you had $160, you could probably walk away with it with no problem. William J. Halligan, that's where we get the Helicrafters, Hallgan. That was the guy that founded the company back in Chicago back in 1932. And it's no surprise that it has a good receive, because the Helicrafters company was very famous for their line of shortwave receivers. Maybe some of you out there listening might have one of the SX or the S series of Hallicrafters receivers. I've got an SX25 Super Defiant, but they made quite a few of them, and there were a lot of them around. Give us another transmission on the radio number 2.
Okay, Dennis. Well, anyway, that's about it. Yeah, it's got excellent receive, and like I said, I think there were some options on this radio to get the external S meter on the face, and also the VFO. So this one has both, and by golly, for a radio that was made in 1963, it's still working. It's working, as my ex-German boss once said. So anyway, okay, Dennis, back to you, and thank you for letting me check this thing out.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for Radio 2. And that radio was built to be either a base or a mobile. In fact, the photo that we're showing, it's sitting on a mobile mounting bracket, one of those big mounting brackets in the day. Suppose if you were mounting it to your 1949 Ford with that metal dashboard, it would work quite well. And Jerry is correct. The radio actually had a few options. If you're looking at the video or the photo at oldtuberadio.net, the radio we're showing has the S meter inserted in the rectangular square off to the side of the channel selector. There is a blank panel off to the other side, and that has the receive VFO. And Jerry is fortunate enough to actually have that option as well on his. So I guess for $160, if you added, and I think those options were the S meter and the VFO were another $20 or so a piece, and you would take off the case and pull off the panel, and I think there was a little connector there, and you just connect the thing in and put it into place, and you were good to go. So very good. The Hallicrafters CB3A. I always like the Hallicrafters. Here on the Old Tube Radio Network, Real Radio is glowing in the dark. We'll see who else we have online, but the jingle singers are saying we should promote what it is we do here. So let's do that.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite slot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
If you were listening to us over the air, you're at channel 11, 27085, probably somewhere in the Central Valley of California, unless we've got some short E-skip that'd be interesting to see. Otherwise, you are listening in at oldtuberadio.net, one of the many digital SWLs, or perhaps you are watching the live video at Google YouTube. We are listening for radio number 3.
Hey, Dennis, I can't let you off the hook there about the Hallicrafters FM 1000. Anyway, I threw that in there just for the heck of it.
Yeah, I don't even know. You know, let me see if that would even come up in a search, because we talk about the FM 1000, and that was a late. Oh, here's the picture. Let me see if I can pop it in there. It is still over on the bench, and because I'm using the foot switch, I'm just not sure I can key the radio and run across the room and get the radio to fire up, which I haven't even tried. But there it is. Okay, there is. If you're at oldtuberadio.net, and I'll pop a picture up on that is the FM 1000. Hallicrafters not only made CB radios. I mean, they made televisions. They made amateur radio receivers and transmitters, and the item we're showing here was an AM/FM radio, late 60s, and this is after Hallicrafters, after Halligan sold the company to the Northrop Corporation, and a lot of the gear after that was produced, because it was cheaper, of course, produced out of Japan. This was my first Hallicrafters radio, an AM/FM, and notice the huge slide rule dial. And what I used to do as a young lad, I used to DX AM stations, and this was the greatest radio for that, because it had that really long slide rule dial, so it was easy to tune in stations. Plus, it had an external antenna jack, so I wired up an outdoor wire and had a blast tuning in DX AM stations, usually on Friday and Saturday nights when there was no school. Sometimes Sunday nights I would stay up late because a lot of stations go off the air Sunday nights for tuning, and they would open up the frequencies, so you'd hear stations you couldn't normally hear because they were being blocked by local stations. Anyway, a lot of fun with that. Thanks, Jerry. That's the FM 1000 AM FM radio. It has a great big speaker in the front. It has a tone control. And I think the price on it was $29, and my dad actually worked at the Northrop Corporation in Southern California, and since he was an employee, we got the employee discount, so I think it took just about all of my money back in the day, but I still have that radio on the bench here. It doesn't quite look that good, I don't think, but I have a lot of memories and fun times with that. As I'm sure many people listening, you got into radio by doing walkie-talkies, or like I did with DXing FM or AM radios or something, and this is just another extension. I will stop talking, and perhaps we will check in radio number 3 on the Gold Tube Radio Network. Is this live? Is this or recording? Hello, 45.
45, a little bit late, but I made it. Would you mind checking me in?
Yeah, I will get you checked in. We had you covered, had you proxied in and covered, and I wasn't sure if you were going to have the really long microphone cord, or if you were actually going to make it into the Radio Shack, which you have done. So, Paul, hello to you, and we've got you checked in. Over.
Yeah, okay. I'll let you check in. This is a radio telephone BB10.
All right, General Radio Telephone. And what is the model number?
Businessband 10, BB-10.
Wow, let me see if I have that here. We've got the BB. Oh, well, there you go. I actually have it. Reminds me of a vibration, like a VS style case and the dark coloring, but it is in the BB mode. So give us another transmission. I'll see if I can get a picture up, and it looks like it might be from your collection.
Yeah, you got it in there. Our radio's in there. The one I'm talking about. So I know. Yeah, you saw that right there. That's it. Yeah, this thing, they give me little troubles with the receiver on the thing, and hard to get me hand with it. That was working on thing. But anyway, this shot was about $190 back in who knows when. I think it was like 19, probably 64, 65, in that range right there. Might be a little later than that, I don't know. But anyway, it's a one channel, it's got 2 crystals in it. It's got the crystal in a crystal oven. We keep the crystals at high temperature. It's kind of a neat, it's a neat radio. It's a little bitty radio, it's a VS radio, same size and everything. No relay, it's all electronic switching. And that climbed up on thing, which I'm going to change on that thing, it's a VSL Rotel one ceramic axon. Thing has a bullhorn switch on it. Doesn't have that on it. Doesn't have anything. It's just a plain radio's got a 12 RF volume, and that's it with a light on the front.
Yeah, I was going to say this is a plain Jane radio, but it is designated as a business band. So in theory, you weren't going to be giving anybody an S meter reading or anything like that. You were just going to be talking to your base mobile. So you just needed to have it on and the squelch and key the microphone. No need to figure what channel you're on, because you would have the business band frequency dialed in. The radios, it looks like, were set to go anywhere from 26 to 28 megahertz, and then you would plug in your crystal somewhere in between that. It will run 12-volt DC or 115-volt AC. Probably in this configuration, like you said, the vibration service, is more of a mobile radio. Your element in that microphone, whether it's ceramic or crystal or something, is probably not in real great shape. I hear you, but the tone quality is very restricted, as you will hear if you listen to the archive playback. So I'm looking to see. It looks like that's hardwired in, so it may be a little hard to change the microphonium, but if you do, you might actually get a little bit better sounding audio. But it's got plenty of audio. It's just restricted, and I'm sure that's probably because of the condition of the element in the microphone. Back to you.
Yeah, the microphone was trouble inside. I want to redo that in, but there's another microphone on this thing, a ceramic pack, that I don't know if it's a ceramic microphone. I'm not certain it might. That's what it looks like. Anyway, we'll take care of it, hopefully. That's about it. It puts out about 12 watts and swings up quite a bit. So we're doing a job on the thing as far as the costs on it. So other than that, that's about it for the little thing, right? It's been a long time since I had this thing set yet. Okay, Dennis, who's that?
That is Paul on his General Radio Telephone BB10. And Paul, you mentioned something very interesting and important about being a business band radio and doing 12 watts. So being designated as a business band radio, I don't believe they were beholden to the 5-watt DC input. Maybe that's why the price was a little bit more. So sometimes these became a little bit more coveted because you could take that business band radio that was produced or type accepted FCC-wise to do a little bit more than 5 or 4 watts output, put in your crystal for the CB band, and then have a little bit more power without having to go in and peek and tweak the radio. I've changed, if you're at oldtuberadio.net, I have changed the picture to an ad for the General Radio BB10. You'd probably have to expand your picture to see what it says about the radio. It's a little bit small on my screen to see what's going on, but General Radio Telephone Company out there in Burbank, California. And I'll leave that up for a little bit. So, Paul, good. Always glad to get some of these radios that we really don't hear a lot, but have some great history. So we'll go back to you for another transmission, and glad you were able to make it back to the radio room before we signed out tonight.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's been a long time. Harvey Hutler's on the steam on this thing. Fifth on this thing. It seems to be working quite a bit better now. I don't know whether it's got a crystal level on frequency or whatever. It seems like it changed even though it's got a crystal level and it's like it's been But what are you going to expect for a radio that old? I'm going to have to have these measurements picked out. Thanks a million for checking in. I'm going to have another BB radio hopefully before we start after this one. Well, thanks again.
All right, as they say, the commercial and industrial AM two-way telephone, the ultimate and low-cost business band communications from General Radio Telephone. In their business band series of radios, and they had a few. This is one of them, the BB10, sounding good on the old tube radio network for Radio 3.
Dennis?
Go ahead, over.
Yeah, that's got a carbon cartridge. I tried a crystal cartridge and a dynamic and got absolutely nothing. But I didn't have another carbon. And it was Friday. So, I think. So, or Thursday when you were down, so, when you press them. Anyway, I've got a couple other carbon cartridges here that should work in there. So, whenever you can bring it back down, Paul, or whatever, I'll put one of them in.
Okay, and you heard he has plenty of audio on the peaks. On some of the peaks, he's got enough volume. It is real restricted, so it kind of cuts his low tones out, and you have to listen a little bit more intensely than you need to, I think, or than you want to. How about that? But it's got plenty of audio, and like I said, being the hardwired microphone might be a little bit of a chore to pull out the grommet there and wire things in, but be worth a try because it sounds like it has enough smoke to make the audio nice, and that's the good thing about the older radios is they're pretty easy to work on. And speaking of working, let's head over to the other studio now that we are in the second hour of the Old Tube Radio Network, and the Jingle Singers will tell us the friendly place on Saturday nights is at 27085.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
The station for you for over 30 years. We've been doing this on the air, the Old Tube Radio Network, and that's saying a lot for our tube radio collectors who take time out of their Saturday evenings, family time or whatever, and jump in the Radio Shack and wave a hand to us. I want to say hello to Tim Tron up there in the northwest corner, Pacific Northwest. We have been having some E-skip earlier in the evening, hearing Idaho and some other areas on sideband and here on AM, so you just never know. Anyway, Tim, thanks for tuning in on the video side, and we are listening for radio number 4.
20.
And hello, 20, over.
25. Okay. Yeah, I heard the other person. Okay, well, since I came out to see if I was Paul, yeah, I had trouble with that thing, so I figure I'd have to change the old circuit around, change the cap, which you had. Hello. Hey, there we go. Crystal cartridge. I need to do it. Okay, this radio is a Spitfire from Cardone. The Cardone Spitfire. But it's a special model. It's Cobra 24. Now, this looks like the Robin P123 with the magic eye. Looks like the regular Spitfire with the magic eye. But this one says Spitfire on the back and Cobra 24 on the front, where it should say the Spitfire. Anyway, I've got the original box for this that says the Spitfire, made by Cardone in Montreal, Quebec, and serial number 3591. That's on the box, and that's what's on the back of the radio. But on the front, where it should say the Spitfire, it says Cobra 24, and that's, I guess, stenciled on just like all the other printing on the radio, both factories. The only one I've seen like this, but it works.
Very interesting. I'm putting up a shot, and it is not the radio in which you're talking, but it's the Spitfire Mark XL. So I'm going to assume that it has a lot of features that are the same. Of course, they have changed the name, and I'm wondering what the difference, why they would make other parts when, like you said, it's basically that radio is the 40-channel version of the Panasonic chassis. I'm assuming that is a 40-channel. Is that correct?
No. Put up Robin P123. This was just like that with the modulation light, the magic eye light, which is working great. So put up a P123. And where it says Robin P123 on the bottom right, next to the phone plug, this one says Cobra 24.
Does it have a magic eye?
Oh yeah, it's got the magic eye modulation tube in it, the 6R-E13. Works great. Whole radio works fine. I had to replace some, believe it or not, old style wax caps, but these were oil filled. This one blew on me, so I replaced all the others also, and seems to be working.
All right, well, that's even cooler than I thought, because it has the magic eye. So we're going to go back a few years to the 23-channel version and the T123. So I'm documenting this here. Let me make sure. I've got the Cardone, and it's called the Cobra 24. Is the name Spitfire on there at all anywhere?
On a metal tag on the back that's riveted on, it says the product of Cardone Limited, blah, 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 Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I believe it says that. And it says the Spitfire, and it's got the serial number 3591, which is what's on the box that also says the Spitfire. But on the front of the radio, it says Cobra 24.
Very interesting. The other item I'll ask you, and you may not know this, it has 23 channels. Are the channels and frequencies matching to the U.S. version? That is to say, your dial should be reading channel 11 because we are at 27085. I know on some of the Gonset radios, we have an issue with them saying that channel 11 is a different frequency, and somebody said that's a Canadian thing. So I'm just wondering if this Canadian radio matches with the frequencies and channels of the USA. Over.
Roger. Yeah, this is USA Radio. Although at first I thought it wasn't, because 9, 10, 11, and 12 channels were so low on frequency, I went, wait a second. No, wait, that's not right. Channel 8 is 27085 originally. Anyway, this is fine. Works fine now. I put another crystal in and seems to be doing okay.
All right, I have not, maybe I just have been asleep at the microphonium here, but I've not heard that radio from your station before, so I'm assuming this is something new, or perhaps you crawled into a very remote space of the shack and pulled this one out. Over.
No, this is new. Got it about a week ago, or a week or so ago, and just had time to work on it, because I've been busy working a regular job, and I've been a little sick, so I'm losing my voice right now, but as I did last week, I think. Anyway, yeah, this is new, and the mic that came with it sounded terrible. So this is my Robin G123 mic, and it just plugs right into this and works.
Great. All right, what I've done is I've taken the really, really nice picture that Cliff provides, but it was of the T123, and I actually have found a shot of the Cobra 24. If somebody has really good resolution and they look down on the tag below the speaker, they will probably see the proper name. But like you said, it's still got the sort of green case, and this one isn't on, so you can't see the Magic Eye tube transmitting. It has some strange applique or something under the S meter. I don't know what that is, but that is an actual Spitfire radio, looking just like the Robin T123. Sounds good. The signal is not super good, but the audio is nice, as we would expect from that chassis of radio. So another one. We're having some good radios here tonight that you might not hear, between the business band radios and the old Hallicrafters, and now the Cobra 24 from Cardone. Sounding good, Paul, or sounding good, Harvey. I'm glad you found that one.
Very good. Where did you find a picture of the Cobra 24?
You know, I did a Google search, and I can't tell you how many airplanes, how many, Snoopy soft with camel Spitfires came up, but somewhere in the mix was this really small picture of the radio that we're showing right now.
Does it look like an eBay listing?
That's a good question, but it does show up. It's something out of New Brunswick, so I think it's a post from a Canadian, and it doesn't appear to be from eBay.
I'll have to check. I might have gotten it from there. If it shows the microphone, does it show kind of a semi-round black handheld mic?
No, it's a squarish microphone with a side push-to-talk bar. It appears to be gray. Also, the radio has some type of a multicolored applique underneath the S meter that's reflecting kind of a rainbow color.
Okay, this one has the meter adjust pole below the meter, shows up red, and just above it says S/RF/MOD.
Okay, the picture is looking down on a bench, so it's the resolution is not really good. You'd have to probably do a real big expand on the photo, and my guess is since the resolution is already bad, you might not see too much on it. So I found that it is listing it as a Spitfire base 24-channel CB radio, so that's why I wanted to put that one up to see if there's a lot of difference, but unfortunately the picture's not that great, over.
Roger, 24 channels. This one has 235,
27235. Okay, so that has the back in the day that 24th secret channel was 22A. We used to call it. My Navajo had that. So, all right, Harvey, that's Radio 4. Very interesting. Before you go, I'll check the frequency. You've probably already done that, but we'll do that. I think your signal is strong enough I can do that. But the audio is good. The signal is there, so I don't think you're going to have to do too much peeking and tweaking on that one. So give me a transmission, and we'll check the zero beat here.
.085, 1 or 2. Mine flips between 085, 1 and 2. Something like that. I can't adjust it, but, close enough.
Yeah, exactly what I got. Your signal isn't that strong, but those who were listening in could hear the zero beat oscillation as I zero beat you, and it's at 27085.16, so exactly in between.
All right, sounds good. Okay, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to check one more radio in, but I'll do that a little later. I've got some work to do back in the house, so I'll get back in there. Plus, hopefully we'll check in another radio.
Yeah, he just got in, so imagine he's doing whatever he needs to do, and if he has time, he will come back with another radio. Thanks for Radio 4, the Canadian version of the Robin T-123 under the guise of the CARDON Cardone, the Spitfire Cobra 24. You're listening or watching or tuning into the Old Tube Radio Network. This is what should I call it? A program, a transmission? This is a gathering. That's what we'll call it. A gathering that has been going on since the mid-1980s on this frequency, Channel 11 here in the Central Valley of California, doing basically what we are doing here, having a great time chatting about our tube radios, exchanging information, and an excuse to get on the air. So hopefully wherever you might be listening, you have a radio night. Maybe it's an old radio night or a vintage radio night, or maybe it's just a get on the air night. And we certainly encourage you to do that. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of nice to put down the cell phones for a while and do something that when you get done, you will not get a bill at the end of the month. We are looking for Radio 5.
Break OTR.
And the break OTR. Go ahead, please.
50 checking in. I got Lafayette, Comstat 25B, but this is Frankenstein. I haven't checked this in a couple of years. It's been sitting on the shelf due to some problems, and thanks to Harvey's tenacity, got it back up and running again. It's got a 40-channel selector in it out of an original crystal-controlled Cobra 29 in it.
Boy, that is a smooth-sounding radio. I think that's the one you keyed up on when you checked in on the SWL, and I was just thinking, what has he got? I was thinking it was a tram. Really, I was, because of the nice smooth audio. There's a picture if you're at oldtuberadio.net or on the video. That's the Lafayette Comstat 25 Bravo. Hopefully I've got the right picture. That is the modern-looking one with the blacked-out dial. When you turn the thing off, it looks like it goes dark. But boy, does that sound good. Over.
Copy that. I've had actually several people mistake this for a much more expensive radio, and it always sounded really good. And like I said, thanks to Harvey, breathed some life back into it. It was pretty messed up.
Sounds real good. What microphone are you using?
Amplified Lollipop here.
All right, you don't have it overdone at all. I imagine you could, since you've got some amplification, but boy, it just sounds super smooth. Does the 25B, does it have, I see there's a switch on the side under the pilot light there, and there's a switch under the S meter. Does that have the range boost?
Yeah, affirmative. Actually, this one, the range boost works really good on it. Let me turn it off here. All right, that's with the range boost off, and that's with the range boost on.
Yeah, range boost on is good. That gets you real close to 100% modulation. And the 25B, a big difference from the 25A, and this was a Panasonic chassis out of Japan, but if you notice, if anybody's looking at the picture there, this is when CB radio started coming out of the garage and the back room into the living room, and Lafayette did a real good job of making this look like a vintage piece of late 60s or early 70s stereo gear. It looks like a Sherwood or a Kenwood stereo with the blacked out meter there, so this would work well sitting on the living room shelf next to the stereo, and that was a way I guess you could sneak in, get your radio into the house. Doing a good job. It's Radio 5. I don't have a year of manufacture on that, but again, if you get a chance to either take a look at the video on YouTube or listen to the audio archives, you will be very pleased with the way it sounds.
Copy that. Well, I'm going to get out of here. It's kind of cold in the garage tonight, so I'm going to run back in the house and get warm. 2 steps and a cloud of dust.
All right, thanks for bringing it by, and as always, our local crew here that helps keep these radios up and running has done another great job with Mark's Lafayette Comstat 25 Bravo. Radio 5 tonight in the old Tube Radio Network. And Paul is back in the radio room. I hope you have enough time to get a drink of water or whatever you need to do between checking in radios. Hello, Paul.
Yeah, we got plenty of time. We get a meeting, or the thing ended up, it was for the Citizen of the Year up here at Norfolk, and it ended up pretty quick, so I was lucky to get out of it. Anyway, I got to check in my BB30 general radio telephone.
Right, another business band radio. I want to wave a hand to watching over at the video, on the video tonight. From Iowa, John, Juliet Whiskey, JW there, listening in from Iowa and enjoying the tube radios, no doubt. I have to check my log, John, see if I've got your call in on my logbook, which I haven't been. I haven't been on the air much lately on the ham side, but you never know. We are listening to Business Band Radio from Paul up on the hill. Let me get that. I know I've got one of those, Paul. I'll dial it up here, and we'll go back to you for another transmission. And I'm thinking the earlier one, the BB10, the BB30 might be a little bit different configuration. We'll find out here.
Boy, I'll tell you, there is a big difference in this thing. The little one, the VS, looks like VS with mobile business band, little bitty radio, 7 tubes in it. And this one is large, like the MC11A and 12. It's a big radio, really pretty radio. And actually got a picture of it right there. That's the same radio it is. Very nice plain front, but very neat looking. It's got a meter on it, and tell you what, it's got super modulation. I know that for sure. Anyway, back to you.
It certainly does. You mentioned the Master Control series, like the MC11 or 12, and this has that audio, nice and loud and sharp, and it has the configuration, at least on the front panel. Again, minus some of the other things, they keep the business band radio's really clean. That I see the rack handles. Looks like the rack handles stick, unless that's just the parallax in the photo. It looks like they stick way out.
Not really. Maybe they look a little different on here, but not really. They're skin rack handles. They're not the real thick ones like on the 11s or all the 12s for sure. They're about the same size of everything, so I don't know. I mean, it's just maybe just the way the picture's taken or something. But no, this thing's got the ECL 800 tube in it. That's what's making a noise out of it, I'll tell you.
Indeed. If you told me, I mentioned, or I forgot to write it down, you mentioned earlier on the BB-10 that was a single-channel radio. I am looking on the picture here on the front, and I don't see what appears to be a channel selector. So how many, does it have more than one channel?
Yeah, this one has 2 channels in the thing. I'm only using one of them, of course. But the earlier ones were 1 channel, just like the BB-10, all the things, except you're still in a better case like this one. But this is a later one right here. I don't know how much later it is, a year or so, or whatever. General, changes so often and does so many different things that you never know. But this is a later one, and it has a 2-channel on the thing.
All right, and another coveted business band radio because they were type accepted to do more than the 5-watt DC input. This one, here's some information showing up as a 25-watt RF output, or maybe that's a DC input. But anyway, it could at least do, I'm going to say 10 or 12 watts on the output. The General Radio Telephone BB-30, 9 tubes. The radio had 2 channels. The earlier BB-30 had only 1 channel, as you mentioned. It was designed for the business channel 27420, which would be what now? That would be up above channel 40. It was definitely a business band there. It doesn't show the channel A and B on the rocker switch, the pictures we've got, but it's just right at the volume control, and as Paul mentioned, it has the famous ECLL 800 tube, and that was early. I don't think they put the ECLL 800 in until, what was it, the MC11s? Maybe they had them in the 9s, but the original ceramic microphone on that was built by Turner. And again, really, really nice audio. Radio 6 is online with us now. Paul has another of the business band radios from General Radio Telephone, and this one is the big one.
Yeah, okay. There's a misprint on that. I noticed on the print there on the thing. It says 10 watts. That's not correct. This thing puts out 25 watts plus. It's a powerful radio, I'll tell you for sure. Nothing added to it. It's just the way they set it up. They'll set it up this way. Anyway, back to you, Dennis, and thanks for checking it in.
All right, and that was always nice to have radios for the guys that like the modded things. You just put in the crystal, and away you went. And I'm not sure if they were into running VFOs on that or not, but running from a 4-watt output to 20, 25-watt output could help things out back in the day. Sounding good on the BB-30. Would also go 12-volt DC, I think, if you had the proper cable for the back end. Thanks for bringing it by, Paul.
Thanks for checking it in.
And you are tuned to the Old Tube Radio Network.
You're listening in the latest style.
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
And we are looking for radio number 7 on the Old Tube Radio Network. You know, there was a lot of activity going on in the crossband. I hope I didn't miss a check-in. Did I miss a check-in earlier? KB6GFD. Apparently not. Looks like my microphone's messing up. KB6GFD.
Breaker OTR.
Okay, I think we had 2 stations in there, but I did hear, I believe it's SWL40.
Yeah.
Yes, this is SWL40 checking in.
Anyway, I did a long time for this in also. Not due for check-in. It's my unknown radio, no-name radio.
All right, hi, Paul. Hang on just a second, Paul. Let me get Larry SWL40 checked in, which I have done. Did I miss somebody on the crossband, Larry? I was hearing activity, but I wasn't listening very well.
Oh, that was my friend Wayne. He doesn't have an SWL number, but nope, just me. Okay,
all right, good enough. I got you checked in, and let's head over to Paul. Hello, 45. Sorry about missing your first transmission there. Tell me again what you're doing. This radio has a little less signal, so I will make sure I can hear you.
Yeah, the way you guys listen is the unknown radio.
Oh, wow. All right, let me go in alphabetical order. The unknown radio. I know we had the bullet hole special, and I can't remember if that was from Steve or Eric. Oh, there it is. Let me go to unknown. The unknown no-name radio. All right. Well, for those of you who like call letters, this one is good. This reminds me of some type of British automobile. All right, I'm going to get the picture up to our viewers, and we'll go back to you for a transmission. Over.
Yeah, okay. It's not too pretty now. Don't you laugh at it. It's really rather ugly, but it's working. It's got 10 tubes crammed in that little thing. Not much bigger than a BS general radio telephone, and they are crammed in there. I know the guy that I would sure like to know who built this thing and talk to him. I know that Harvey would like to talk to him too, and all the rest of the guys, because he did a tremendous job for the little thing. It's kind of funny. It looks like the front is wood. I don't like a piece of, it's metal on the front. It's painted just differently. The outside case is kind of a plastic metal type thing. Not even metal, it's plastic. He put it all together, put it this thing, and like, oh, he's got a good mic. He's got a turn mic on the thing. But back to you.
Yeah, there it is in all its glory. Could be a home brew, or maybe somebody took a chassis out of something and rebuilt the cabinet. You can see the screws holding in the speaker mount and some other things. There is a call letter, and this would be the not the earliest call signs, but this was the early to mid 60s, even into the 70s, because I was KEO 8492. So this is a 3 and 4, 3 letters and 4 numbers. Looks like KDA or KOA 7170. So that could solve the mystery there. I have checked before if there's some type of an FCC database on the early FCC call signs that's accessible. I haven't been able to find something. Actually, if you go to, it's S9 Magazine, I think, they used to print the latest call signs that were issued. So maybe scouring through those, looking for KDA 7170, which would be kind of a searching for a needle in a haystack, but you might come up with something. But anyway, it's working. It sounds good. Take another transmission. I'll do a frequency check the next time around, but this one is working.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I hope it checks out good. Now, hopefully, I'll keep on talking on a little bit. You get a chance to get it in?
Yeah, it's not too far off, and it has some fairly strong audio. So when I go into the sideband, it'll detect the audio. 27, 84, 30, like 84.3, so just over or under 700 cycles low, which I think is within the FCC tolerance. So it's a good deal.
Well, but I'm definitely not going to change it. As long as you can hear me on this thing, I'll tell you, it's a mess inside. Not really a mess, it's neat. It's just so cluttered. Just everything's crammed in one place in the thing. So I thought it's 7 inches wide, 5 inches high on the thing, and 9 inches long. So you kind of figure it out there. No meter, no lights. The only way I can tell it's working is if I look through the holes in the sides, the vent holes, I can see the tubes flowing on the thing. That's it. Mine was a KHL, so the KOA, that would be quite a bit later than that one on the TV license number. So anyway, it'd sure be interesting if you could be listening in and find out more about it. Thanks for checking it in, Dennis. I try to do it every 6 months or so.
Yeah, it's still working. I don't know if the FCC did regional with the letter designations, like a KOA would be the Midwest and a KOX would be in the West Coast. I have 2 questions. I think you answered one of them, and I was looking at the picture. It didn't look like it had any vents on the top of the case, but you mentioned you're looking somewhere to see the tubes light up. So I don't know if you're through the speaker grill or if you're looking off to the side, so it must have some type of convection, cooling, venting. And then the other question, on the front, you've got the 2 knobs, and it looks like they're almost drawn in pencil, like they were going to stencil something and never got around to it, so just wrote in with pencil. I'm assuming one is the volume and one is the squelch. If they're not marked, is it a little bit hard figuring out how to turn that thing on?
The one on the left is off on volume, the one on the right is squelch. And it is readable. It's readable. It's very easy to motor in. That's the only way you did it. I put a piece, I put it better up there with a piece of paper on the thing with it, so I can read it a little better, but they are readable.
All right, and it sounds good. The audio is good. The signal is fairly decent. So for our SWLs listening in tonight, this is a treat. The unknown, no-name radio checks in maybe once or twice a year, and it is checking in tonight. So consider yourselves lucky to have heard this one. It may be the only one in existence. We're just not quite sure if somebody took the internal workings of another radio and recreated a case, or if this is something that someone home brewed. There just doesn't seem to be any discernible item telling you this may be an E.F. Johnson or a Lafayette or an old Gansett or something. I don't know if the tubes themselves, sometimes the tubes will have names on them, but it could be a Phillips or RC, and that wouldn't help you out much. But it's still around, and we are glad that here on February 17th of 2018, it has made yet another appearance, and wherever KOA 7170 is, I know having a good time knowing the radio is still on the air.
I'm pleased to get it checked in. You know, Retrocom has had this radio on there for years, too, and we tried to figure it out. Then we did everything, too. It takes the pictures of the inside and everything and match it to anything. There's nothing else, so it's definitely homebrew. So thanks for checking it in, Dennis.
Thanks for bringing it by here on the Old Tube Radio Network. 27085, Channel 11 in the Central Valley of California, where we are transmitting live at the moment. Also, you might be listening to us at oldtuberadio.net on your universal media device, or maybe out there, hello, at Google YouTube. We have another 15 minutes or so. We are looking for any check-ins on the shortwave listener side. We are looking for tube radios of any sort. You don't have to have any type of number or have checked in before. If you find yourself in front of a glow-in-the-dark radio, it's time to key it up here. And answering any questions or comments that we might get. OTR standing by.
84.
And there is a loud radio that I'm going to put in radio number 8 if it's indeed glowing in the dark. Over.
Roger, Roger. Well, it is glowing in the dark for sure. It's the same radio we checked in last week, Dennis, the Johnson Messenger 223. This one happens to have the desk mic, Johnson desk mic, non-amplified. And we heard what the other microphone sounded like, but we did a little bit of fine-tuning on that one, so to speak. But we thought we'd get your opinion on what it sounds like this evening there, Roger, Roger.
Sounds good. It's got a lot of audio, good fidelity, a lot of bass response. And I will pop a picture here. What I'll ask is on the front of your radio, above one of the controls, there is or there is not a red modulation light. If you have the modulation light, I'm sure it's blinking at you pretty good. But I'm curious which one, and I'll put a picture up that's appropriate to your radio.
Roger, Roger. Well, actually, this one does have the Majaput light. It is amber in color, so I'm not sure if the originals were red. So if it is amber, it's supposed to be red, then maybe it's getting a little bit dim. But it's right over the volume control. The one on the far left is your on and off switch, and also the squelch. So not a lot of knobbins to play with on this one here, Roger.
Well, a few more than some of the radios that have checked in tonight, because we've been, thanks to Paul, featuring some of the business band 27 megahertz versions, which took off the S meters and the channel selectors for the most part. So in that vein, this is a deluxe radio, although I agree with you, when you get to some of the other radios like Courier Royale or maybe the Polycom Pro, it could be missing a few things, but all the stuff that you need, the 23 channels, the S meter, and getting the thing on the air, volume control and squelch, it has it and does it well for an operator's point of view. And since it's an EF Johnson, EF Johnson, no slouch in the transmitter department, which we are hearing on this end. Back to you.
Yeah, very good, Dennis. If you don't mind, I would like to plug in that other microphone and see if it's going to be okie dokie fine for a backup, or if I ought to do something else to it. It shouldn't take me more than about 5 seconds, here, Roger.
Okay, we're recording, and we'll be listening for the microphonium change on the EF Johnson Messenger 223.
Oh, excuse me. I had it up too close there. How about it there, Dennis? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Are we doing any good?
Sounds good. There is a difference. There's a couple of noticeable difference right off the bat here. The first microphone, and I noticed this, but I didn't say anything because I wasn't sure, but now I am sure. There was a slight AC note, if you will, a little bit of an AC hum, and it is gone. So I'm going to attribute that not to the radio, but to the first microphone. This microphone does not have as much bass response. It sounds pretty good, and I think it projects not as loud as the other, mainly because of the lower frequency, but it is cleaner in that it doesn't, and I'll have you take another transmission to confirm this, but it doesn't have the AC note in it.
Well, good deal. Okay, well, we did something else as you were transmitting there. Is that any better? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 is 10, and 10 is 20, and thank you for shopping. Come back again.
Thank you, Kmart shoppers. I didn't notice too much difference. This sounds good. This microphone is a bit cleaner without the hum. As with all microphones, you might have, play with the proximity effect. That is to say, how do you sound 2 feet away? How do you sound 6 inches away? Might make a little bit difference in the tone quality, but this one is definitely a little bit cleaner.
Well, good deal. This is the Turner Plus 3, and right before I keyed up a while ago there, I was checking the battery there, and it was 8.95 volts, so I decided to turn off volume up just a tad bit, so it definitely needs a new battery there, Roger.
Yeah, indeed. Actually, I think you could turn it back down. What I'm hearing now is I'm starting to get a little bit of room ambience, and it makes the clarity not as good because I'm getting a little bit of echo out of the room. So you might be able to turn it back down and or move a bit closer to the microphonium. You've got plenty of volume, but the intelligibility as the gain goes up starts bringing in some room acoustics, and that it makes it not as nice.
Yeah, very good. All right, we have it about 11 o'clock, and 7 o'clock is completely off, and of course 5 o'clock clockwise is all the way up. So it's, oh shoot, Dennis, it's probably right between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock there, Roger.
And I think you're good right there. It's a cleaner signal. It might not be as loud, but the intelligibility to me, to my ears, and I'm wearing the headphoniums here, is better. You can decide too. We're archiving at oldtuberadio.net, and we're also, if you go back to, if you have YouTube, we'll keep the video for a while, and if you come to this spot, you will hear the difference in the audio, so you can decide you might like the other one better. But for no AC hum, and unless you want to plug that other microphone, and maybe it just didn't connect right. If you want to go back to the other microphone, we can check it again, but I definitely was hearing a bit of an AC note on the first microphone. And he might be doing that. Radio 8 is what Jerry has. It's the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223 with the modulation light. That's the radio, or likeness of the radio we're showing, and we're doing a little bit of microphonium checking.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. Okay, this is microphone number 1, Johnson desk mic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 is 10, and 10 is 20, and I don't know if you had any more change or not, but I think you gave me a 20, so we ought to be good to go.
Okay. This one does sound, now that you go back, it has the perception of sounding a bit louder, like you're close to the microphone. The AC note is there, but it is not, and I'm going to go back to the archives myself and check, but it is not as present as it was when you first keyed up using that microphone. So it is much less and much less noticeable. So now, here we go. Now this microphone may have, as they say, jumped into the lead a bit. So they're both working quite nicely. I'm going to say whatever's happening with the AC thing, you would definitely not see it on your modulation meter, because it is very slight, and it is even less than on this one. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you now. Either one works great. This one might be a little bit better if you were trying to talk in a noisy environment or DX, assuming it could stay clean when you plugged it in.
Oh, all right. Well, that kind of explains it there. One's an amplified mic, one's not. So, actually, I think there's 1 or 2 over here on the shelf there that I might try in the next few weeks there. So this gives me an idea of what in the world's going on over here. All right, Dennis, it's good to be back. We're slowly but surely finding our way, and hopefully we can be back out here a little more often there. Not so much physical, just a lot of stress, but that's something else for another day. All right, Dennis, take care, and we'll be eavesdropping for the duration, the 84.
All right, sounding good. That tells you how nice the transmitters are on the E.F. Johnsons, that you can run a stock microphone and still get that much audio out, and then go to the amplified desk mic and have to turn it down a little bit. You turn it up too much, and it's got a little bit too much gain for the room. Both microphonium sound good, and I agree it's good to have you back in the mix here on the Old Tube Radio Network, where we have a few minutes left for your radio check-ins, and the jingle singers over in the other studio tapping on the glass, wanting us to tell us about the magic that is OTR.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic
Old Tube Radio.
for you.
Magic for you, and I want to say shout out to hello to listening or watching over on the YouTube side out in Nashville, Tennessee, where I know they have some great tube radios keying up all the time. EDA 396, thanks for waving a hand.
37.
Hello, radio.
Hello?
Hello, 37.
Yes, that is me. My turn?
It is your turn, over.
Thank you, under. Yes, anyway, we're out here under everybody else, but over some people, but under other people. But anyway, I'm in between some of them, too. But this is me on mine. This is my radio telephone. The Super MC11A, 24-channel tuber that glows in the dark, and that's the phone ringing in the background. That's sister-in-law calling. It is I, and we are running this here with the original handheld stock microphone. I believe it's original anyway. Over.
Sounding good for the stock microphonium. We have been doing good with the general radio telephones tonight. Earlier we heard the BB10 and the BB30 business band radios. The BB30 was definitely a precursor to the radio that we are listening to now. From 1965, the business band BB30 employing the ECLL 800 tube to get some great audio, which General then put into their standard 11-meter radios, and this is one of them, the Super MC11A, with some nice audio. Sounding good and looking good, as we have a picture up at oldtuberadio.net and on the YouTube channel, and give us another transmission.
Hey, let's see. I hope I'm working. Let's see. Am I getting out? Yeah, I'm getting out. But yeah, this one, it seems to be working. I'd been in here a little bit sooner. I'm going to check in one more after this here, but I've got it warming up over here. Well, I just thought I'd throw a note in there. I would have been in here sooner, but been kind of had a little disappointment here. My wife's sister passed away earlier, and we've been trying to get arrangements done for that down south. So down there in Orange County down there, Dana Point, she passed away today with cancer. So we've been expecting it, but yeah, I thought I'd let you know the reason I haven't been here sooner. So, but I do have one more to check in. Over.
Yeah, sorry to hear that. That is always a tough road to go. So hopefully all the things that need to get done can get done. And sometimes it seems that when you have a gathering or meeting, at least I've been noticing these days, it is usually for that kind of a situation. So you get to see people you haven't seen in a long time, but you think, doggone it, wouldn't it be nice if we could figure out how to do this in a different situation? So condolences there, and hopefully everything will get taken care of. Sounds like you might be taking a trip or something like that, but thanks for taking a little bit of time to check in the radio tonight.
Okay, well, before I leave, can I check one more in?
Yeah, that was Radio 9. So if you've got another one, we'll call it Radio 10. Over.
Yes, well, this in here, I believe this would be Radio 10. This is my G PowerMate, Jim Marine Products, 23-channel tuber that glows in the dark also, with the red TX light that's shining for me right now. And we're running this in here with the amplified D104 Lollipop.
Good choice. We have had some colorful radios tonight, from green to gold, and why not blue? And that would be your Gem Marine Products G PowerMate. Give us another transmission. It's sounding good.
Okay, well, I thought I'd at least get this in here. I do. I'm gonna turn this one over here. I heard its name mentioned earlier in here. You know, this one that you're talking to somebody there. I guess you was talking to Paul or Gary or somebody there a little bit ago. But this one here's one with all the specious knobs hidden all over the place. But I'll be right back with another as soon as it warms up. Over.
All right, we will be here. We haven't counted and amounted yet. Thanks for Radio 10. I believe that's the original Panasonic chassis 23-channel in the version from Gem Marine Products of the G PowerMate on the old Tube Radio Network. And 45, hello, Paul. If you've got a radio, it will be Radio 11.
Yes, I do, and I got a problem with this radio. I lost the receive on it, and there's no diagrams, no anything on the thing, so Harvey's been getting it going. It's still got to be tweaked a little bit. If I need to tell him that, no problem, because it's a major deal. You can't get anything for this radio. It's my Miratel CR117.
Oh, wow. It has been a while since that one has checked in. Not sure if we heard it at all last year, but this is an interesting radio, and when I put up the picture here, everyone will see why, because of the way it has sort of that reverse-mounted S-meter, which is kind of interesting. Doesn't really look like any other radio that's out there. It is working on the transmit side, so hopefully you are hearing me on the receive side. Over.
Yeah, I hope it does. You say it's working all right. I hope it sounds good. It looks pretty good on the meters on the transmit. But I lost the complete receive in the thing. I thought for sure it was a transformer. And I got it down, Harvey got into it, and he got it back on receiving, but it still needs to be tweaked some. You're really hard to understand. Not your fault. It's just the receive on it. So if I misunderstand you, we'll just go ahead. You probably want to get shut down anyway. So, but anyway, I'll just tell you, this thing has 9 tubes in the thing, and you can see it's a weird-looking radio. It's got a multimeter on the thing. It does all kinds of things on the thing. If they had a good idea, they just didn't go. I don't know why. Maybe those women didn't like it or something. Anyway, back to you.
It was an early issue showing that it was from 1960, 61, one of Miratel's first products, and you mentioned a multifunction meter. When I look at it, it reminds me of a piece of test equipment almost, the way it's laid out and the way the knobs are on either side of the meter. This says it's from your collection, so I'm assuming it's the one you're talking. It doesn't have the microphone plugged in. Looks like it has the big power jewel meter that comes on when you turn on the volume, or if there's an on-off switch. 5 channels? No, 5 crystal control channels, and it appears that it is only set for base station operation. But it is working, and we've got it checked in as Radio 11, over.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, no, it definitely can't be a mobile. I don't know how you build a bracket for it. Well, you probably could, but there's no holes for a bracket or anything, so I don't know how they fit it in there. Put it in a box and hang it in there. Okay, that's about it, and thanks a million for checking in. I'll be listening to it on the archives, and next time, hopefully, we'll be having full receipt. Thanks, Dennis.
All right, sounds like Harvey comes through again, keeping our radios going here in the Old Tube Radio Network. From Miratel, it's the CR117, and our listeners tonight are getting a treat. We are having a lot of the rare and seldom heard radios checking in tonight, so maybe you have heard something for the first time tonight, and that's good. Always like to do something interesting and different here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Minute after 10 o'clock, and I think Chris said that he has one more, so we're standing by.
Yes, I am ready.
And I am ready, as you will be Radio 12 tonight, over.
Okay. Well, this is my Courier Royale. The 23-channel tuber that goes in the dark with the amplified D104 lollipop on this one here also. This one here's got one, but all the knobs in the front, and of course the hidden knob in the back for modulation stuff. But it's got the blinking red lights. Actually, I got 2 of them blinking at me. One right next to the S meter, the other over there by the CBPA switch. And there's another light right up there by sensitivity, but it don't blink. It just turns on when IM key is up right now, and it's the amber color.
Well, this is definitely not your father's business band radio, because it does have more than 2 knobs, and I see a channel selector switch. It is good audio, good signal, and the top of the line from Courier, and I'm thinking their last in the series of tube radios. It can go 12-volt DC with the proper cable. It has 11 tubes. A lot of our radios tonight have had 10 tubes or less. Great receiver thanks to the Collins 6 kilohertz mechanical filter. And a good transmitter that sounds like this. Back to you.
Okay, well, I've got one more, but it'll take a minute to warm it up if you don't mind.
All right, well, I still have to do some counting and mounting. The Jingle Singers are still in the studio, so let's thanks for the courier, Royale, by the way. Let's head over to the other studio where the Jingle Singers are going to help us with some spelling on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
And as the Jingle Singers say, the best radio, Old Tube Radio. And with that, the sound, the ever-popular sound of SWL-75. Hello, Patrick. I am going to bring up our SWL list and make sure that you are indeed official on that side. But something tells me I can also bring our tube radio list, and we might have something for that as well. Over.
Yeah, I was calling to check in, SWL-75, and sorry I haven't called in. Like my check-in radio doesn't seem to want to work right. It wants a different microphone, and I don't have one. But anyway, I'm running a Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB.
And you are running it quite well, I might add. I am sitting in the air chair, as we say, with the headphoniums on, and it is really loud. Lucky Radio 13 got you checked in as 75, as I'm supposed to do, because that's what you're at, and we'll also get you checked in with the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III. It seems to be working now. Or maybe it's just thinking, why don't I get to appear more often on the Old Tube Radio Network? It's doing a good job. Back to you.
No, I was talking about my call-in radio when I call my SWL in. The Browning, I try to get it out every now and then. It doesn't always want to go, but you have to kind of kick it sometimes.
Well, you have kicked it without sustaining injury to either you or the radio. We're showing a picture of the Mark III SSB. That is the big transmitter with the sideband built in and the big receiver. This was their flagship radio until the 40 channels took over from 1972 to 1976. What did this sell for? $700, I think. But sounds good. It looks good. And I really like the way that you are orchestrating the ping. And what our photo doesn't show, it just shows the radio and it shows the microphone sitting on the table. But for those of you who have operated an Eagle before, you know what I'm talking about. Those of you who have not, I wish we had a video of what Patrick needs to do to give us that great sound when this radio keys up. Anyway, back to you.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. But I was going to say, I heard you say that they dropped the 23-channel radio when the 40s came out, but I have a 40-channel receiver, so it can be done.
Right. I think most of the receivers, they had the 40 channels on the tunable, which was okay. That was certainly type acceptable by the FCC. But in theory, before 1976 and whatever the date was, if you had a transmitter with the 40 channels, it probably couldn't have got type accepted. However, as you well know, there were certainly a lot of modifications on that radio with, and I can't remember if it was the Siltronics VFO or the PAL VFO that went in there and would let you go transmit-wise on the 40 channels. But Crystal Controlled is where we're at, channel 1127085, and it's doing a good job for Radio 13 tonight.
Thank you much.
much there. Yeah, this is a Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB with a 40-channel receiver.
Sounding good in the old tube radio neighborhood. I'm showing the prices anywhere from $650 to $750, which back in those days I think would buy you a really nice console color television. So I guess you had to convince the XYL when you went out and you came home with the Browning that you really didn't need that color TV after all. Patrick, give us another transmission, and thanks for stopping by tonight.
Thank you. Yeah, like a color TV wouldn't run about that, but I would say you could have bought a car, a halfway decent car back then for $600, $700, $800, you know. So I don't think, but then again, some of these old radios, I noticed them on eBay, and they're still pulling that kind of money, so you could come out okay, whereas that TV might be in the trash now.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. It would be very interesting to see the three people, the one that spent $750 and bought the color console TV, where that TV is, the person who spent the $750 and brought the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB, and we hear a lot of them on, so they're built like a tank, and then the person in 1972 that paid $750 for that 1966 Ford Falcon station wagon. And where do you where do you think that might be right now? Anyway, Patrick, thanks. I think Chris is... Chris, are you standing by? Because I want to get you in and out because I know you've got plenty to do tonight.
Yes, I am.
All right, we're going to put you up here as Radio 14 with whatever you might have. Over.
Well, this is one of your favorite radios with only, 9 tubes? Or is it 7 tubes? I don't remember, because I don't remember who I am half the time. But anyway, this is my Citizens Little Phone Helicrafters model CB3 Alpha, 8-channel transceiver. We're running this in here also with the original handheld carbon type microphone. Over.
All right, Helicrafters number 2, or CB3A Little Phone number 2 tonight, and with the original microphonium, with the earlier one from Jerry, I believe he's running a different microphone, has a different sound. This definitely has the stock carbon microphonium sound, and that's not to say anything negative. It just has that old tube radio sound, and you gotta love it. Give us another transmission on the Helicrafters.
20.
Okay, all right, Dennis, I thank you for being there, and get the prayers in for us, and we'll get back to you hopefully by next weekend. If things work out, possibly I should be here. I'd have to stay home with the dog anyway. She may have to go down south. I'm not sure. But anyway, Dennis, I do thank you for being out there tonight. As always, we appreciate it. I'll be listening on the other one.
All right, thanks for stopping in tonight and putting some radios on our list. Radio 14, your Helicrafters. CB3A on the old tube radio network as we get ready to wind things up, but I do believe there is a breaking station. Hello, 20.
Hiya, gotta check in this bad boy. The Browning Golden Beagle R68T68 by Browning Laboratories with the custom microphone. Okay. Also proxy me in for next week. Looks like I'm working. Alrighty, I will let you go and go back and take care of some business here. The Browning Golden Beagle, arf.
All right, good for Radio 15. Haven't you told those people that you don't want to do that anymore? They just keep telling you that you need to do it, right?
Well, hate to say this, but I like the money. Yeah, I'd rather not do that, but oh well. Anyway, yeah, I had a rough beginning of the year. I worked more the beginning of this year than, the last 5 years at the beginning type thing. This was kind of rough, and I'm getting a little old for this stuff. Anyway, I'm trying to stay healthy by eating Girl Scout cookies, so I got to get back in and consume mass quantities.
All right, you and Phil are keeping your health in order thanks to the Girl Scouts. So a Thin Mint, a strategically placed Thin Mint certainly doesn't hurt, I guess. The Browning let's see if I've got this, if I can say this correctly. The Browning Lavatories Golden Beagle is sounding good tonight. That radio really is loud compared to many of the items you had here tonight, of course, and you know that. The Harvey Range Boost, of course, helps things out. And it's funny how we need to do that, how you and I cannot give up the day job to play radio all the time. And sometimes it helps to play radio, like you said, to have that little extra cash there. Right, thanks for Radio 15. I want to wave a hand to the mighty KUH, Brian, who is listening from afar tonight, tuning in the Old Tube Radio Network and probably on his radio desk with the classic radios, listening into some great either sideband or AM. Anyway, thanks for listening in, Brian. And before we go, Jingle Singers are ready, but are there any other stations that would like to check in?
You're tuned to
OTR, Channel 11,
right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us.
Old Tube Radio.
And be modern.
And the Old Tube Radio Network is counting and amounting.
This is the Old Tube Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, stand by. It's time now for the current OTR totals.
Be the current and final totals at 16 minutes after 10 o'clock here on the West Coast, the Old Tube Radio Network. Another good evening of radios, and some that we haven't heard in quite a long time, and maybe some that, if you were listening, watching tonight, that you may have never heard. We'll go through the list. The most heard manufacturer tonight, it was a good race all the way up until the end. But it appears that thanks to some business band radio check-ins tonight, the General Radio telephones are taking our most heard manufacturer at 3. But let's go through what we did do tonight. Showing up with 2 entries tonight, the E.F. Johnson Company, E.F. Johnson Messenger 223, starting it off, SWL 93, Louis on his 223, sounding good. Second radio was the Hallicrafters, and we had a pair of Hallicrafters tonight. In fact, they were both CB3A little phones. Jerry started with his as radio number 2 tonight, sounding really good. That has some nice audio. That one always fools me. As well it should, I guess. Hallicrafters can sound good. They can sound like an old tube radio. It depends how you run them. Our business band General Radio Telephone, the BB10, based on the VS, the Vibration Service Chassis from early 1960s. That was Radio 3 from Paul. Good to have you in, Paul. I hope you didn't cut short whatever you were doing to get on the air tonight, but we are glad that you were out there. The infamous and rare Cardone Spitfire Cobra 24, the Canadian version of the Robin T123 and whatever chassis that shares. Radio 4 from Harvey, something new from his collection to our collection, so the first time we've heard it here, and hope it was interesting for everybody. Radio number 5, something we haven't heard in a while, and coming from Monkey's uncle, Radio or SWL50, his collection, the Lafayette Comstat 25B, and what some great audio. Something from these tube radios. Transistor radios sound fine. You can make a transistor radio sound great, but the tube radios, often you don't have to do too much to them. You don't have to really direct inject or do much. Just make sure you've got a decent microphonium, and they will scream for you like that Lafayette. Thanks, Mark. Radio number 6, Paul on his General Radio Telephone BB30 from 1965, based on the Master Control series of chassis, and maybe their first radio to have the ECL 800 tube. Some really nice audio with that. Radio number 7, Paul on his no-name, unknown radio. That is one you really need the video. So if you have just tuned into this part of the video, go back about an hour. Or wait a minute, when did he check in? Yeah, go back about a half an hour, about 45 minutes, and look for the no-name radio and see if you know what that is. Always good to hear that one. Only shows, it's like the blue moon. It only shows up about twice a year here on the net. Coming up to Radio 8, the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223. Good to hear SWL 84 and the group out that way, Jerry, on his Messenger 223. Little bit of a microphone test, and that is another reason we are here, not just to check in radios, but if you have something you want to try out, an antenna or a microphone or a Delta tune or whatever on your radio, we'll try and give you a report. We do the archive recording so you can go back and hear it yourself, and that is certainly a bonus, a function, a feature of the old tube radio network. Thanks for the E.F. Johnson. We had 2 E.F. Johnson 223s tonight. The General Radio Telephone Super MC11A, our third General Radio Telephone, putting them over the top with Chris's radio. Also, his Gem Marine G PowerMate for Radio 10. Paul with the Miratel CR117, sounding good on the transmit side, having a little bit of issues with the receive, but he was able to hear me, so we got it checked in from the early 1960s. Radio 12, Chris on the Courier Royale, the big fancy radio tonight. Radio 13, Patrick on his Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB, really sounding loud in the headphoniums tonight. And as always, Patrick doing a great job orchestrating the ping on that and showing us why the Brownings were really, really popular. Just a lot of people like swinging that D104 microphone around. Radio 14, Chris on his Helicrafters CB3A for the second little phone of the evening, and the Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68 from Harvey was our final Radio 15 of the evening. So I want to say thanks to all those who checked in and listened in, whether you were radio active or not. Thanks to our listeners out at oldtuberadio.net. There are still quite a few you out there listening, some of them all the way into tomorrow. Out there in New York, hello to Florida, Iowa, a lot of stations from New York listening in. Utah, Ray is still out there. I hope you are staying warm. Dallas, Georgia is still in, and of course those tuning in on YouTube. Thanks to Frodex and SearchLawrence.com, keeping the Nixie tubes running on the technical side, and thanks to all of you for keeping us on the air these 30-plus years with your radio check-ins and support. We will be back next Saturday at 8 p.m. Pacific Western Coast time, and we'll be looking for your radio check-in. 73, everybody. The Old Tube Radio Network signing out. Good night on the YouTube video 73.